Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this TradeStation webinar. My name is Jesus Nava. I'm the Director of Client Training and Education for TradeStation Securities. And if you know me, you know that it's a pleasure to always talk about TradeStation and maybe show you some tips and tricks that you didn't know on the TradeStation platform. So that's our objective today. We're going to talk about I would call advanced, but I don't want really I don't want to scare people off here, but I want to show you the power that TradeStation has in terms of allowing you to customize certain orders. Now, sometimes you're looking for certain behavior, you're looking for a specific order to do something on your TradeStation platform. You know, some of the templates may not be, um, you know, exactly what you're looking for. And this ability for you to create your own orders, I'm sure that you'll get some benefit out of that. You know, I think everybody enjoys that. Welcome, everyone. I see you're actively using the chat. I appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedules and being here with me. I know that you guys are connecting from all over the world. So thank you for joining us today. We're going to get the class started. There's, of course, a lot of people connected today. And sometimes it's a challenge, you know, to address every single question that appears in the chat. But I do have access to the chat window. So this is a great way for you to communicate with me and let me know if there's anything specific you're looking for. All right. So before we get started in today's topic, which has a title of creating multiple order setups to manage entries and exits in one single trade. And as I said before, you know, a lot of the order entry tools in TradeStation already have some templates that you can use right out of the box, but today is all about customization. So before we get started, the usual disclosures, just keep in mind that every symbol and idea that I talk about is for educational purposes only. These are not recommendations of TradeStation. Also, active trading is not suitable for everyone, and it should only be done with risk capital. If we look at past historical performance, there's no guarantee of this, you know, on future results. So things that we need to be aware of when we're trading the markets. If anybody needs additional information on these disclosures, go to www.tradestation.com/important-information. You guys have probably noticed that I'm joined by a colleague. His name is Manolo Sanabria. He's going to be also moderating the chat. So whenever there's a link or something that you guys need, he's the one that's probably going to be sending those over here in the chat. So thank you guys again for joining me. Let's go ahead and jump over to my TradeStation platform to show you exactly what is it that I'm talking about when I mentioned, you know, the ability for you to customize orders in TradeStation. And we're going to go through a couple or a series of examples just to show you what's possible. Just keep this in mind. I may not address the specific order setup that you are wanting to create in TradeStation, but the tools that I'm going to show you and the process of accessing those features is going to be the same for any order setup that you want to create. So let me go ahead and first of all, let me close out of some of these applications. I had a chart open here. In fact, let's just leave this chart open. First thing, the custom orders that I'm going to show you today is a very specific function of the TradeStation Desktop. It is not available on mobile and is not available on the web trading platform. And it's not even available, for example, if you open up the matrix or if you open up chart trading. The ability to customize order is something that you find here on the trade bar. That's one of the only places that you can access these custom orders. So since we're going to be using this button many times, what I'm going to be doing with my trade bar is I'm going to be docking it to the top of TradeStation. And we have a little push pin for that here on the left-hand side. That'll make my trade bar stay right there at the top of my TradeStation platform. The button that I'm referring to is right here, the OCO OSO, which is something that you also find on Matrix and chart trading. But if you click on the actual button, you're going to find this option towards the bottom of this menu that says Custom OCO OSO Orders. That's exactly what we're going to highlight today. And we're going to stay in that menu for the duration of this webinar to show you the things that are possible here. One thing that, or one example, and we're gonna go jump right into an example that you're not able to trade through the TradeStation templates is a multi-exit trade that not only has a profit target and a stop loss, but it also has a time activation exit. Let me show you what I mean by that. I thought of using maybe a notepad, a notepad, so that we can get our trades set up visually and we're all on the same page. Okay, let's say that we're going to buy, and I'm going to use an example. Let's use Apple shares as an example. So I'm going to do buy. We specify the number of shares here. 100 shares of AAPL. I'm going to say at best bid. This is a type of order that I'm going to create. I'm just trying to put it here on a notepad so that we can all have a visual of what is it that I'm going to do, okay? I'm going to have a target here. So my target is going to sell 100 shares of APL. Of course, that's the symbol that I'm trading. If we have a, let's say, a 25-cent increase, all right, that's our target. And we're going to come over here and we're going to set a simple stop that is going to maybe sell 100 shares of APL if minus, now let me get these distances a little bit higher. So if it drops 50 cents, I'm going to get out. But here, I'm going to shoot for a whole dollar. So a dollar target, a 50-cent drop. If any of those two scenarios is hit, then I'm good. It's a planned trade. I mean, I have a plan. I'm okay with losing 50 cents on 100 shares. That's just $50. Maybe I should trade more than 100 shares. But again, the number of shares or the symbol or the direction that I'm taking is not as important as what I'm going to explain to you. You may be sitting here with this type of trade where you have a position open and you have a profit target and you have a stop loss. And for any reason, it could be margin related. You don't want to keep a position open at the end of the day. Maybe you want to have a good night's sleep and you don't want to have any shares open of anything. So what you want to do is also set a time activated exit that gets activated if the market's about to close and none of your exit orders have been hit. So I'm going to add another layer here that will sell 100 shares of AAPL if 3:55 p.m. Eastern time. Okay, I know the market closes at 4 p.m. for Apple. So what I'm going to be setting here is a selling transaction that says, well, if at 3:55 and you haven't hit the target and you haven't hit the stop, then I want you to sell too. And that way I won't have any open positions overnight. Maybe I've overextended myself. I'm using margin and I don't have enough margin in my account to keep that position open. I don't want to get a margin call, later tonight. So what I want is something to get me out of the position if it doesn't play out the way that I want. This type of setup may be simple, but there's no template for you to use. So you have to create it from scratch. So let's go ahead and do it. Okay. Hopefully the font size is here. The font size that I'm using is clear, and I want everybody to be able to read my examples so that we're all on the same page. So let me go over here to my TradeStation platform and show you how to create this order. Okay. Excellent. Okay, so let's go over here and click on OCO. Again, I'm going to be using this custom OCO menu. When you open up when you click on this option, you get three different options to select from: OCO order, bracket OCO order, OSO order, which is an order sense order. In parentheses, it tells you, what the acronym stands for. So that's something that is helpful. And you have to take a step back and try to, okay, where does my order fit in? I'm trying to send an order to buy a number of shares of XYZ. And when that order gets filled, it's going to send these exit orders, 3 exit orders, one as a profit target, the second one as a stop loss, and the third one as a time activated order. So since I have this setup that I have a primary order that is going to send additional orders, that fits into the OSO category. Whenever you have one order that sends another, you're going to want to select OSO. That's the best option there. If you already have a position, let's say if you already have a position open, you may use bracket OCO or OCO order to manage that trade. Or if you want to create some sort of an entry type of order, which we're going to look at an example of in just a moment. But let's go ahead and create this setup that we were talking about. OSO order. I'm going to click OK. Okay, so here we go. This is the custom OCO OSO order. And right here at the very top, it's going to ask me to give this order a name. I like to give my orders a name just because there's a feature here on TradeStation that allows you to save them so that you can access them later, especially if it's an order that takes you, some time to set up. This is going to take us a little bit longer than usual, because as you get more familiar with the functionality, it's just going to come here and click here, click over there, and you'll have your order ready in 30 seconds. For now, I'm going to walk everyone through the steps of creating this order. So this is going to be a buy, a APL with a target, stop, and time exit. Okay, I want to give my name some descriptive keywords that tell me what the order is all about. And here under the symbol column, I'm just going to type in the symbol that I'm going to be trading. In this example, just for demonstrations, we're going to use Apple. I said that I was going to buy 100 shares. Let me go ahead and adjust the quantity here. And I did say that I want to buy the 100 shares at the bid. And I chose that type of setup because I'm not really sure when is it that I'm going to be sending this order. So I'm not really sure what the price of Apple is going to be at that time. But I'm okay with joining the best bid. So whoever is bidding for shares of Apple, I want that exact same price, the best bid. And in order for you to select that best price at the time that you submit your trade, you have to come over here on this drop down for limit. And we have some auto pricing functionality. One of them is called join. Join, what it'll do is at the time that I send the order, it'll look at the best bid and the best ask and choose the price that's for my order. On a buy order, it's going to join the best bid. Are we okay with that? All right. Since this is going to be a day order, I'm not going to change the duration. Remember, we talked about the ability of getting out of a trade before the market closes. So these are all day trades. Let's go here and change those to day. All right, perfect. From here, this is where it gets a little bit interesting, and you can be as creative as you need to be. So over here, I'm going to click back on the originating order. I usually like to do that. I mean, sometimes it's not even necessary, but just to keep my order organized in my head, I click on the originating symbol, like here in Apple, and I use these 2 buttons. There's one button that says attach a bracket, and over here is attach a single order as an OSO. This is the one that I want because I want to attach single orders to that primary. I'm going to do it one time. And notice how it creates an indentation. Indentations right here in this dialog are important because the tabbing over here to the right, like you see here, the second row, just means that this second order is contingent on the one above it. So the primary order is going to have a direct effect on the second one. So that indentation is important. If I click on attach single order one more time, it'll create an additional indentation, which is not really what I want. So if you do that, you can back out of it by just selecting that last symbol that you added and pressing delete. Because what I want is for this same indentation to apply to all the orders that are going to be submitted with my Apple trade. And as I go through the example, this is going to make a little bit more sense. I know that sometimes you're listening to me and you're learning something new and it's kind of overwhelming. And also, this class is recorded, so you'll have time to play it back and pause it and do it at your own pace. So instead of click on an attach single order multiple times, one after the other, I'm going to click back on the originating order, which is my buy order, and I'm going to click on attach single order one more time. Now, take a look at the difference. Take a look at the indentation here. The tabbing is at exactly the same level. So these two additional Apple orders that I'm adding to my trade are exactly at the same level. They have the same importance, meaning that I'll have the ability to connect them together at the same level. So they all have the same importance. Whichever gets filled will have the ability to cancel the others. And that's why I want all those orders to have that same indentation. So I need a third one. So I'm going to click back on the primary order. So always have a habit of clicking on the order that is the primary or the originating order. And then I'm going to click on attach one single order one more time. And I have all those three additional orders indented at exactly the same place. Of course, all these orders are going to be selling transactions. That's what we said in our example. So I'm going to set them to sell. And I'm also going to connect them. This is an important step, and you don't want to miss this, because this is the way that this functionality knows that all these selling transactions are going to be connected with each other, so that if one gets filled, the other ones get canceled. So this is what I do. I click on the very first one and I drag my cursor down. I know that is not very visual in terms of highlight. I wish, our engineers would add a little bit of a special, color or shade that would just be a little bit more clear that something is highlighted. But here again, I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to click on the very first one, hold down my mouse button and drag it down. Like if you were like highlighting something with your mouse. We do that all the time in a Word document. We do it here, highlighting symbols, and the symbols are highlighted. I'm not sure if you're able to tell, but there's a kind of a lighter outline around the symbols. And that's important because we need to make sure that all these three symbols are highlighted, because we're going to right click on the highlighted area, and you get this very nifty right click menu that allows you to group all the orders that you've highlighted as an OCO. An OCO stands for order cancels order. So they're all connected into one OCO. Most of the OCOs in TradeStation are kind of two-sided. If one side gets filled, the other side gets canceled. Here, we have three different orders that are all connected, all have the same importance, and all have an opportunity to get filled. And you're not limited to three. I mean, if you have multiple, different scenarios that you want to monitor as exits, of course, you can add them here if you want. Okay, so let's go ahead and set our order specifications, because if you guys remember, we did say that our target was going to be $1. Our stop is going to be 50 cents negative. And then we have a selling transaction at 355. Let's see. We are going to probably the next example that we're going to take a look at is options 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's go over here to my TradeStation, and let's set up our target first. The target is going to be a limit order that is going to be offset from the primary fill. Interesting feature, because now this is going to take a look at the primary order that, of course, is the generating. It's a primary order here. Whatever that price is, when it joins the best bid and it gets filled, from that price, I want my target to be $1. So that's my offset. I put in a 1 in there. Then I'm going to set my stop. This is a stop market order, which is going to have an offset from the primary fill. And here I have to use a negative number because I want it to be subtracted from the primary fill. So it's going to be a minus 0.5. So that's 50 cents. 50 cents on the stop, $1 on the target. The third one, this third order right here, is going to be a market order. Now this is interesting because I'm going to turn it into a market order because I don't know what the price of Apple is going to be at 3:55 p.m. So if I start guessing and saying, well, if Apple goes to 110 or 120, and I didn't even check what price Apple was trading at the moment. But if I were to guess a price, my order could not get filled at all. So I want the functionality of a quick exit so that I know for a fact that I'm going to be out of the market before the market closes. So it's a market order, but I do have to set a time activation on it. So I'm going to make sure that my clicking or my highlight is on this row. And just to confirm, I always like to click on the symbol that I want this activation to be referencing. So I make sure that I click on the symbol. I come down here and I put in an activation rule, click on the ellipsis, select the time. I'm going to set the time here, 3:55. It's my local time. Parentheses here. If you are in a time zone that is different than the exchange time, just do the time adjustment in your head. My computer right now is set to Eastern time. I live in Central, but for work reasons, I like to have my computer set to Eastern time. So I'm at exchange time, but I want everybody to know that this is your local time because this will go off based on your computer clock. So just be aware of that. So if you're on Pacific, the closing time or the time that I want here would be what, 12:55, 3 hours before the market, or 3 hours, not 3 hours before the market closed, but 3 hour difference from Eastern time, right? So just keep that in mind. And always remember that this is your local time or your computer clock. So this is 3:55. I'm going to click OK. And since I've set up an activation rule on that exit, even though it's a market order, it will not execute right away. It'll wait for 3:55 p.m. in the afternoon. And that's it. It took us a few minutes to set this up because I had to walk you through every single setting, but we just finished our first order. And all I need to do right now is probably stage it. You know, if you do these types of orders that you want to redo with a different symbol or different, price settings, stage them. There's a stage order button here that I'm going to click on. And as soon as you click, the order goes away because it's available right here under the stage button. If I click here on stage, I see my Apple. This is send now by Apple, target, stop, time, exit. This is the one that I just created. If I want to display all staged orders, I click here, and this will open up the Trade Manager window. All staged orders are going to be in the Trade Manager window. And I always recommend that if you're going to be creating these different types of orders, that you stage them so that you have easy access to them. All right. All right, let's see how this works. I'm going to right click on it and send it. So send now by Apple, target, stop, time, exit.
Order rejected.
Order was rejected. Okay, so right here I can see the reason. I already had a position open on Apple. It was probably a short trade, and I was submitting an order to buy. So it's just letting me know that I cannot have a short and a long at the same time. Let me open up my position graph. I see my Apple position right here. In fact, I have 1,000 shares short on this simulator. I'm going to right click here, right click. I'm going to close this Apple position at market.
Order filled.
Okay, so I got filled, got out of that 1,000 share short trade, and now I'm going to right click on my custom setup, and I'm going to send now by Apple.
Order filled.
Okay, I'm not sure if you heard. You probably didn't hear my confirmation speaking because I didn't check the box to share my sound, but I hear, the audible confirmations coming through that my order got filled. Let me go ahead and open up a chart here so we can see it. Chart analysis. All right, and let me open this up. Let me change this chart to Apple. Turn on account orders and positions that I had it, turned off. You see right here. Okay, let's open up my chart. All right, so here's my trade. I got filled at $165.17. You can see that my stop is set at 164.67. That's exactly 50 cents lower than what is currently, what I got filled at. And then I have my target up here at 166.17, which is $1 from the fill price. There must be a market order associated with this that I don't see here, because the market order is going to be right on top of where the current price is, but I can see it in the trade manager. So let me go back here to the trade manager. And if I go to the orders tab, here's where I see the setup. Everybody sees this top blue row. I got filled at 165.17. Notice that the order status is filled. And then I have 3 orders right below it. These are 3 working orders. They all have been received. One is a limit, one is a stop, and one is a market order. And if I scroll all the way to the right-hand side, I'm going to see that my market order has an activation rule right here under the advanced column. So if you haven't found the advanced column in the orders tab, it tells you that the market order that I just submitted has a time activation of 3:55 p.m. Does that make sense? Pretty cool, huh? All right, so let me see if I can get some address some of the questions. I know there's a lot of activity here on the chat, so I'm sorry if I don't get to your question. I'm going to try to see if I address some of these. Does join get a better price than market? That's depends on how you look at it. Sometimes a market is a good price. What you get with join is that you're joining the best bid. So it's a different behavior. Market orders usually get filled immediately because of liquidity. But if you send a join order, your order may just sit there and not get filled at all if you have a fast moving market and the market moves away from you. Does this work with options? It does very well. So we're going to take an options example in just a moment. Let's see. Can you put in percentages instead of dollars on the sell order? Unfortunately, this custom order functionality only worked with offsets in dollar amounts. It doesn't work with percentages, unfortunately. That would be a great thing to add, though. So if I were you, I would, use this feedback little button. So everybody, apps, feedback, if you feel like something's missing on the TradeStation functionality, make sure you're using the feedback app to send those comments to our product managers, okay? Perfect. Can you execute a trade bar template order from a strategy? No. Not something we can do. You cannot connect the strategies to the trade bar templates that we just created, okay? Can you set the time leg to the next day, not just time for the current trade? That's a question from Sandra. Unfortunately, the activation rule functionality in TradeStation time specifically works for the current trading session only. So you cannot set a future date. So only for the current trading session. Anything you create, especially if you stage the order like I just did, if I go to my staged orders, that's like saving the order to the trade manager. I can right click on that staged order. And if I click on edit by Apple target stop time exit, it'll open up the exact dialogue that I created the order in. So it makes it very simple for me to make edits to it if I need to, okay? I see your question, RC, about entering an OCO order on a single option position with the one stop, 2 limit targets with all 3 orders based on the price limit of the underlying equity. Yes, you can set an order and you don't really need a custom order to do that. You can use some of the templates, and if you watch my presentation on OCOs and OSOs that I did last month, I'm not sure if Manolo, if you're listening, I did an OCO OSO presentation on the matrix. Some of those templates may fit what you're looking to do, okay? Perfect. I have a question here from Joshua. How does TradeStation route market orders? There's an intelligent technology that is the default routing technology. You can see it right here on this dialog. TradeStation chooses the best route for your order based on your specifications. You can change the route if you want to. A lot of times when you look at this drop down, it's a little bit overwhelming because you have all these different venues and market makers that you can send the order to. But if you want to do that and venture into changing the route, you're welcome to do that. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at another example. I'm going to jump to another example because sometimes, looking at another example may open up, and answer some of the questions that you guys are sending. Let's go ahead and create an option here set up for SPX. So here, this is the chart of Apple. Let me change this chart to $SPX.X. Okay, so this is the index. Why don't we do an options trade on the index? Right now, the index is at 41.31. Let's suppose that the index has been trading sideways. The last 3 days, 4 days, there hasn't been lots of movement, and we're waiting for the SPX or the index to wake up and show us some trends. So let's suppose that we want to trade a couple of options, if the SPX breaks 41.50. So if it breaks 41.50, I want to be the call buyer with the strikes of 41.50. But if it drops to 4,100 and breaks 4,100, I want to be the buyer of a put with a strike price of 4,100. So let's go ahead and set up that trade and see if we can make some sense out of the functionality of the custom OCO. Because one of the nice things about the custom OCO is that it allows you to mix different symbols together. Even though these are two options on the S&P index, they each have a different symbol. And you can do the same with any stock or any futures and trade brackets like that have multiple symbols. This is just using options because I know we have a lot of options traders. And this is just kind of watching out for some movements here on the S&P 500. Before we do that, we need to find out what the symbols are for the options we want to trade. So what I do is I pull up my OptionStation Pro because it gives you some indication of some of the options that you can trade. I'm going to go to the June expiration. There's about 52 days until this group expires, and I can see the 41.50 right here, and I can see the 4,100 right here. Okay, if I want to do the 41.50 on the call side, it's about $92, $95 per contract. And if I want to do the 4,100 on the put side, it's about $76 per contract. But here is where I see the symbol. I'm not sure if you have the symbol enabled inside of your OptionStation Pro, but you need this long symbol that you see here on the right-hand side. Those are the only things that I don't like about creating these type of orders for options, that you have to remember the symbol for options. But the nice thing is that once you kind of know the structure of the symbol, is not that difficult to remember. For example, the root SPX, of course, is based on the index, so the root of the symbol is going to be the same, SPX. Then you have the expiration that starts with a 2-digit year, so 23. It has a 2-digit month. We already said June, so that's 06. And it has the specific date, which is the 16th. So 23, 06, and 16 is going to be the same for both symbols. The P is for put. If you notice here on the right, the C is for call. So we already know when we want the put and when we want the call. The remaining numbers is just a strike price. And we know that one is going to be 4,100 and the other one is going to be 4,150. So the only thing we need to remember here is the expiration date, 23/06/16. So what I'm going to do, since I already memorized the symbol, I'm going to go back here to my TradeStation and let's create my order. Let's go here. OCO OSO, custom OCO. We're not going to do a bracket because bracket implies that it's more for open positions and which manage the same quantity. And the quantity gets automatically adjusted if one of the sides gets partially filled, which is not really what I want. I want a regular OCO. So most of the time I find myself using either an OCO or an OSO. We already did OSO for the Apple example. Let's go ahead and do the OCO for this options trade. I'm going to click OK. And this is going to be, let's see, options. This is SPX options bracket. I'm going to say one put, one call, just to be specific, okay? And if I want to be more specific, let me do one long put and one long call. Now, this is just to remind yourself of what the order is all about, right? So here's the symbols. You have to enter the symbol. The symbol that we already looked at in OptionStation Pro. And once you learn, the structure of symbols, it's just simpler just to put it in. I know that it is SPX. Don't forget that space between the root and everything else. There's one single space, SPX 230616. I'm going to do the call first. Call, and we said we're going to buy a call at 41.50. That's my symbol. I hit enter. If you hit enter and you see information here on the right, is because you entered a valid symbol. If you messed it up, it'll say invalid or incorrect symbol. So just keep that in mind. Make sure that you don't forget that little space between the root and everything else. This is a buy to open, which is exactly what I want. One limit. Now it's interesting because I'm not really sure what the price of the option is going to be when the index reaches these levels, the 4150 and the 4100. So I may just use market orders or join orders if I want to. So here, if I want to do, in fact, let's do hit take. Hit take is crossing the market. So you're going to do a limit order, but at the ask. So if you bind the call at the ask, you're pretty much using natural pricing. You're buying it at what the sellers are selling it you or selling it to you at. So rather than doing a market order, you're just crossing the market and buying at the ask. Hopefully that makes sense. So here I'm going to type in the second symbol, SPX space 230616. This is my put, and the put is going to be at 4100. There we go. Buy to open. I want you to notice what just happened. As soon as I entered another symbol, I have this little yellow box that says OCO. So since I'm in an OCO type of dialogue, any symbol that I add here is going to be added to the OCO. So I'm creating just a two symbol OCO, but you can create, multiple symbols connected in this OCO so that if one gets filled, the other side gets canceled. This is also buy to open, one contract. It's going to be limit, and it's going to be a hit and take. All right. Remember, the hit take is the type of functionality that crosses the market at the time of activation. But I do need activations here. I have my prices or I have my strike prices, but I don't have my activation. I'm going to click on the 4150, set an activation rule. And the activation rule here is based on the price of the SPX index. How cool is this that you can set an activation rule on a symbol that is not the symbol you're trading? I'm trading the put and the call, but I'm setting the activation rule on the index itself. Now, this activation rule can be anything. It doesn't even have to be related. Right now, of course, they're related because the options are derived from the index itself. But just keep in mind that it can be anything, and you're setting an activation based on the index. So if the price goes greater than or equal to 4150, that's when I want my call option to be bought. I'm going to click OK to that. Invalid symbol in condition 1. Let's see, $ SPX.X is the symbol. All right, there you go. If the symbol is greater than 4150, I'm going to click OK. I have to add it up here. So let's go ahead, $SPX.X. Make sure you have the right symbol. I'm going to remove the top one. So greater than or equal to 4150. See if this works now. There we go. So I had the wrong symbol. Just remember that the SPX index symbol is $SPX dot X. And the activation rule for the second one, make sure to click on that second symbol so that the rule applies to that order. I'm going to set an activation rule. And this is going to be a price activation, $SPX dot X. I'm going to add it. But this time, if it drops below 4,100, then I'm a buyer on that put. I'm gonna click OK, and there we go. Let me go ahead and stage the order. I staged it. Now, if I submit the trade, let's go here to my trade manager. Notice that if I go to the staged orders, I see my SPX options bracket. I'm gonna right click and send it. Let's see, send now. And the order gets received. You know, up here, I see the information bar. But if I go to my Option Station Pro and I go to my Manage tab, let's see. I don't see them here. Probably because I'm looking at a different account. Let's go ahead and see here if it's a different account that I traded. There we go. That's it. So I have a different simulated account. And you can see the two options right here. These are the two symbols that I traded. And these are buy to open. But if you scroll to the very right, you're going to find an advanced column similar to the one we saw in the trade manager that lets you know what the activation rule of those orders are. And it's interesting. We just created an order setup that is going to monitor the S&P index. And whichever way it breaks, it's going to send orders for options. Now, we created these orders as day orders. So if it doesn't get filled today, it'll just cancel the setup and you can resubmit it tomorrow, or you can just change the order and make it a GTC so that it stays, you know, in multiple trading sessions. Okay, let's see some of the questions that are coming through. I see a question here from William. Could a state order be attached to some type of button for repeated execution? There is some functionality in TradeStation that is macro related that allows you to, you know, program hotkeys to send orders, but it doesn't allow you to have this customization ability that we're talking about right now. So unfortunately, it's a little bit more complex than that. But you can definitely, you know, use macros for order entry. And Manolo, if you can find my presentation on hotkeys and macros, I mean, share them here in the chat for, you know, users to reference. Good question here from RC. Is it possible to cancel and replace an order on an option based on the activation criteria of an underlying? I'm trying to change the activation price, but it's grayed out. Yeah, changing the activation price is not something you can do on an active order. So unless you cancel the order and recreate it, activation rules are pretty much set at the time that the order is sent. So unfortunately, activation rules cannot be modified in that way, okay? Let's see. For spreads, well, somebody here is asking for spreads. We only need the symbol and everything is the same. It depends on what is it that you're trying to do. If you're trying to do a spread like I just submitted here, which is not really a spread, it's just trading two different symbols at the same time. You know, a spread, talking about options spread, is something different because that gets executed and filled as a spread, but not in the way that we set it up. So, but it's something that you can certainly use. So yeah, Sylvester, you're talking about option spreads can be set up to be executed here. Again, the way that we created this put and call into one custom order is not a spread. These are independent trades, independent orders that can be filled. You know, they can be filled at the same time. Actually, no, because it's an OCO, so it's not really a spread. It's more like a bracket. So let's go to this. let's not use the word spread here for this type of trade because it's more like a bracket. Remember that is an OCO. If one side gets filled, what happens to the other side? It gets canceled. So you're never going to get filled on both orders that we just set them up. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and take a look. So just to recap, no spread trading. This is an OCO. Remember. Okay. If you want a spread trade, do it in OptionStation Pro. That if you submit spreads there, then those are actual spreads that get executed as spreads. Let's do one last example just to close up this presentation. I'm going to do a really interesting setup. So let me go ahead and bring up my notepad so that we can do another test. Let's see. We can do Apple again. This time I'm going to buy 1,000 shares of Apple. At the best bid is fine, but I want multiple targets. So we're going to sell not 100, but we're going to sell 500 shares of Apple if they go up $1. Okay, so our stop, let me remove this. Our stop is going to be sell 1,000 shares of Apple. All right, let's do it more. $2 here, and let's do a $1 here. Okay, so simple setup. Let's just walk you through it. So we'll have 1,000 shares of Apple, and you can do this with options, and you can do this with futures as well. I haven't done a futures example, so yeah, but it's the same. It's just changing the symbol and the offset. Let's just stick with Apple since we can do the math a little bit better because we don't have to deal with the value of the point and quarters of a point or anything like that. So I'm going to stay with Apple just for this example, 1,000 shares of Apple at best bid. I'm going to have target 1, sell 500 shares, and I'm going to do a target 2 to sell another 500 shares. If plus 2. So notice that the quantity here, I dropped it to 500 because we start from 1,000. So if it reaches one target, let me bring up my arrow. All right, so, all right. There we go. So we have this target, and this stop, right? What I want to happen though, when it reaches this target, what I wanted to do is I wanted to, let me remove all those arrows because it's getting confusing. What I want to happen when it reaches this arrow, when it reaches this target is I want this to change stop to break even. And when it reaches this top one, I want to change stop to trailing stop. So this is like an order that gets adjusted as it goes along. At the very get-go, for example, as soon as it buys the 1,000 shares, you have a fixed stop right here, right? 1,000 shares sells 1,000 shares if it drops $1. But if the market goes in your favor, as soon as it reaches target 1 and you're able to sell 500 shares, actually, this is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to, because if it reaches target 2, you're out of the market. So I need to change the quantities here a little bit. I'm going to do 1,500 shares. Okay, so if it reaches the first target, it sells 500 shares, and then it changes the stop to a break even. When it reaches the second target, it sells another 500 shares. So you're left with 500. But at this point, it changes the stop to a trailing stop. And this is already at 4 points from entry. So at that point, I mean, we can set a trailing stop of $1. Okay, so that if it drops $1 from its highest profit, then you're out. Does that make sense? So let's go ahead and create this trade because the templates that are available on the TradeStation platform do not allow you to create these types of setups. So let's go ahead and set this up on TradeStation. Come here to my TradeStation platform. I'm going to click again on my OCO OSO button, and this will be a custom OCO OSO order. Again, we have a primary order because we're buying 1,500 shares of Apple. So since we have that primary order that sends all these exits, we're going to build an OSO order. Okay. Yeah, both targets are $2 exactly. Just an example, I just picked two round numbers. It allows us to do better in calculating the offsets. Okay, you'll see it here. I'm going to click OK. Let's give this order a name. So this is going to be my Apple, AAPL, buy, stop. Well, this has a target 1. I can call this two targets, 1 stop, break even, trailing stop. Okay, so it has all those names in there, just to remind me what's inside of this order. Let's build it. The first thing we're going to do is buy the 1,500 shares of Apple. So I'm going to type in the symbol, buy. I changed the quantity to 1,500. I did say that I wanted to join, so it's a limit order, and I'm going to join the best bid. I can, set a price in here if I want to. Can somebody tell me what the price of Apple is, so I don't have to get out of this dialogue? I think I saw, is it 160 something? Yeah, join would be the best bid. Well, let's go ahead and do a custom price here. Okay, so Ryan, thank you so much. It's 165.20. So let's suppose that I want to buy Apple at 160. So I can do a custom price and say 160. Right here. That's the way that you do a custom price if you want to work with custom prices, which sometimes, it's a little bit easier than working with offsets. In the example that I set up in Notepad, I said, okay, if it goes up $2, if it drops $1, that's thinking in terms of offsets. But you can also use custom price as I just did here. And you can say, well, if Apple goes to 162 or 164, you can use those specific prices as well in this setup. All right, so that's my buy order. I'm going to make this a GTC. This whole setup can be a GTC, so it remains in the market for a few days if I want to. From here, again, notice that I'm clicking back on the symbol that originates the order. That's the main primary order. And I'm going to click on attach a single order. At this time, what I want to set is my first target and my stop. Notice that I used indentation here so that we know how to create these orders. I'm going to take care of my first target and my stop. Let me go back here to my TradeStation. So I'm going to add 2 rows from the get-go, which I can do by clicking on the primary and attaching the single order again. Remember to always click on the primary before you click on attach single. Otherwise, you'll get these continuous indentations that are not exactly what you want. It'll still work, but it's not what you want. You want these 2 orders to be at the same indentation because they have the same priority. They have the same importance on this order setup. These 2, I'm going to highlight. I do that from the beginning so I don't forget to do it. You need to connect them in an OCO. We did that on our first example. So I click on the first one, drag down, so it highlights both, right click, group as OCO. And you have this clear indication that they're grouped because you have this yellow box that says OCO. These are both selling transactions. My first target is not for the 1,500. It's only for the 500 shares. And here, limit, I can say offset from primary fill and set this to $2. This is thinking in terms of offsets. Or I can just say, give me a fill at $162. So I get in at 160. If it reaches 162, that's my first target at 500. In fact, let's go ahead and set this example using prices instead of offsets. so that you have, 1 and 1. The other one is going to be for the full quantity, 1,500. This is my stop market order. This is like my fixed stop. And if the price drops to 159, if Apple drops to 159, which is $1, then I'm out. So that's my stop right there. Okay, that's my first step. In this OCO, if it hits my stop, I'm out of the market. I don't have to do anything else, right? But if it hits my target, which I'm going to click on the symbol for, I want something else to happen. What is it that I want to happen? Well, the first thing that I want to happen is I want to set my second target. My second target is a little bit higher than 162. It's 164. And I want something else to happen. I want that stop to be regenerated as a break-even stop, right? So this is what you do. You click on that target because that's now the originating order or the triggering order. And from here, I'm going to attach one single order. Notice the indentation. Don't get confused here by the indentations. This is just keeping your orders in the order that you need them. I'm going to click back on the triggering order and add another one. Because remember, we need a target and we need the break-even stop. All right, so these are both selling transactions, and I want to do one more thing. Remember, group them in an OCO. So I'm going to click on the first one, drag to the second one, right-click and group. Practice. Do this multiple times. I know that the first time you're seeing this is like, oh my God, I'm never going to be able to create this. Don't say that, because this is not, once you get the sequence of steps and you're able to understand the indentations, it's not that difficult. So I don't want you guys to give up on learning this functionality, because you can create these very interesting setups that we're working on right now. So here, I just grouped them under an OCO. My break-even stop, how many shares is my break-even stop for? 1,000, right? Because remember, it already reached that first target and it sold 500. So there's only 1,000 shares remaining. And I'm going to set my stop market order. And the price here is going to be 160. If I set the price to 160, that's my break even because I entered at 160. Remember, this is very, very interesting. This only happens if it reaches my first target, and the first target happens at 162. So you are already $2 above entry. So if it drops to 160, then you're breaking even. So I don't have to literally select break even. The price tells me that it's a break even order. My target here, or the other target, is not 162, it's 164. Are we done? No, because we said that, okay, if it reaches that second target, which is for 500, there's still 500 shares remaining. What do we do with those 500 shares? Well, I'm going to click on that triggering order. Remember that, get your orders in sequence and know exactly which one to click on. I'm going to click on this second target. Make sure that you're looking at this row. And then from there, I'm going to attach a single order. Notice that it's nested inside of it. From here, I don't need two orders because this one will act as a managing exit order for the remaining 500. And the type of order that I want here is going to be a stop market. I'm not going to do price here because what did we say that what we want that stop to do? We want that stop to trail. And we said the trailing stop down here. Trailing stop points 1.0, so $1. You set it right here. So make sure that you are clicked on that symbol. This is the trailing stop, and that trailing stop is selected, points $1. That's it. All I need to do at this point, stage it. All right, and my options, my symbol is right there. But let me just make sure that I don't have any. I do have a position here in Apple that I opened up earlier. I'm going to right click on that Apple and close it at market.
Order fill.
I'm going to go here to this other workspace where I have a chart open because I want to be able to see that order as it shows here on the right of the chart. Okay. And Let me go here to OCO, OSO. Not here, I'm sorry. I'm going to go to the stage button because remember that I staged it. Notice that all the staged order that I created are in this menu. And I'm going to send it now. This is a buy order with 2 targets and 1 stop. And it goes right here on my screen. This is what it looks like, but it looks like a mess, right? But let's go ahead and make some sense out of this. Remember that the blue line is the only active order of this setup. That's the one at 160. Why is it down there? Because we remember, if you remember, we specified that we wanted to get in at 160, and then we have all the active orders in place. Let me go and take a look at the trade manager. In the trade manager, you have a perfect view of what this order looks like, and it's right here. Notice how cool the indentation lets you know what step of the process is the order in. Now, right now, the only active order is to buy the 1,500 shares of Apple. The only problem, and this is a serious problem, because what I thought of doing was, well, let me change the price. Let me change the price of here of my entry. But if I change the entry, that will not adjust the exits. The exits are set at custom prices. So those are some of the limitations that you get when you use a custom price. But if you change your entry, that does not adjust the exits. As opposed to using offsets. Now, if you use offsets, everything is beautiful. Because if you move the primary, then everything else gets adjusted accordingly based on the offset that you specify. So if I want to create a copy of this, let me go ahead and right-click on the order. Notice that you don't have to start from scratch. I'm going to come right-click on the order, and I'm going to copy to trade bar. And from here, I'm going to set the same order, AAPL, 2 targets, 1 stop, break even, trailing stop, but this one is using offsets. Okay, so let's say, for example, we want to then join instead of using, the 160 right here, instead of using 162, offset from primary fill, set it to $2. This one, offset from primary fill, set it to $2. Remember that the primary fill changes here. If we're here, the primary fill is this join. But if we're at this level, the primary fill is this one above it. So you keep that in mind when you're calculating the offsets. On my stop, I want this to be offset from primary fill, $1. And on the break even, this is something really interesting. On the break even, you have to think about the price that the security is going to be at when this order gets activated, because this will tell you how far down the offset is going to be. If you guys remember, my break-even stop is generated when the first target is hit, right? And the first target is hit $2 above entry. If I'm already $2 above entry, in order for me to create a break even, I have to come down $2. Does that make sense? If you are already up $2 and you come down $2, you're a break even. Like, by the way, this one right here, it needs to be a negative one. If somebody, yeah, thank you, Ram. Somebody pointed it out in the chat. That's absolutely correct. This has to be negative, so it gets offset on the right side of the market. So now, let me make this top order the same way we had it before at 160. Let me stage this order. Okay, so now let me go back here to my chart and cancel all of this. I'm gonna go ahead and cancel. This gets pretty lengthy, but I'm gonna cancel. Let's see, cancel. Well, I can do it easier here. Let me go here, right click on that primary and cancel all Apple orders. There we go. So it canceled everything. Let me go back in here, and I want you to see what the difference is. Let me go to stage. And I'm going to send it now. This is the one that I created last, the one that has the word offsets at the very end.
Order rejected.
Ooh, order rejected. What did it reject? Let's go ahead and take a look. So rejected a whole bunch of orders here. Something must have happened here. So I must have done something wrong. Let's see. Maybe because I created a copy of it. I think that sometimes happens. Let me try and send that again. Let me go ahead and cancel out of this. So cancel. When I create a copy of the order, sometimes the numbers are reused. Like for example, this 7492 was already used here. You see that? Let me go ahead and do this. Let me right click, copy to the trade bar. There we go. Now this is the one that I had generated earlier. Now those are some of the things that happens when you copy and paste. So let's go ahead and do something. Let's go ahead and, this is the one that I just created, right click and edit. All right, let's try to send this. I'm gonna try to send this on a different account. Let me try to send it again. Hold on. Let me go ahead and, first of all, let's cancel whatever's active. It's already canceled. And let's go ahead and place it again and see if we have the same behavior. Right click, send this one.
Order rejected.
So I do have the same. I think that's more of a bug. Whenever you create a copy of the order, it reuses some of the numbers. So it seems like it already sent that order number and it's telling you, hey, you cannot send it again. But the way that I can circumvent that, it's either creating it from scratch, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to change the order or the account number. I'm going to use number 13 and see if that gives me a different result. And I just have to change the order. Okay, so let me go ahead and send this.
Order rejected.
No, still giving me the reject message. So I guess you're going to have to stay away from copying and pasting the same order. I guess, yeah, if you create the order from scratch, it'll be saved and you can reuse it. But just be mindful of custom prices and offsets. Because what I really wanted to show you is the ability for you to click and drag that order when using offsets and all the exits be automatically recalculated for you. So unfortunately, we did not get that behavior right here in the chart. So I apologize for that. The only thing that was canceled was in this case, the only thing that was canceled was the last trailing stop. And the reason is because, the parent has already been canceled. So that's what's happening here on my TradeStation. Let me see if I can take some of the questions that are coming here through the chat, see if I can address some of them. If you submitted a question earlier and I didn't get to it, I think this is a good time for you to send in questions, okay? Okay. Okay, Ron, thank you for the suggestion about using other liquid stocks. Thank you for that. Sometimes, I create the same order using futures and it provides me a great, functionality. What if you select copy instead of copy to trade bar? That's a good question. Not sure what effect that would have, but thank you, Darlene. The video, I think Manolo has been sharing some information about how to access the video. Manolo, when you get a chance, can you share that again? The question from Kirk, primary fill means the fill of the order in each indent section, not the opening order at the top of the tree. That is correct. Yeah, primary fill refers to the order that triggered the orders that are active at the moment. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the top primary one. It's the one that actually triggered the order that is active at the moment. Very true. Question from Dave. Are OCO orders sent to the TS servers where only the nearest leg side of an OCO to current price is in the market at any one time, the whole setup of an OCO is sent to the TradeStation servers. So even if I were to shut down my TradeStation, if I send an OCO setup like the one that I just created with nested orders, that is all on the TradeStation execution server. So I don't have to have my TradeStation open. TradeStation handles all the nested orders for me. So it's a very interesting way of sending those trades because TradeStation manages those for you based on your, of course, your order specification. Jose is asking, would TradeStation place the orders fast enough to do scalping? You know, Jose, I've known many TradeStation traders that use our platform for scalping. And I'm not sure what type of speed are you looking for, but I'm pretty sure TradeStation is at that level. I would get maybe an account representative to give you a little bit more detailed information, maybe some stats on TradeStation's execution speeds, but that's what I can share with you at this time. Armando's asking, is there a way you can test drive the template you created to ensure it is working as intended before you risk money in a live trade? Yes, Armando, and this is exactly what I would suggest everyone here in the class does, create the orders, see how they behave on the trading simulator, and make sure that you have a good handle on the functionality before you create those on the live account. In fact, you don't have to recreate them. If you create the orders in the simulator and you test them in the simulator, as soon as you connect to your live account, those orders still remain. So you don't have to even recreate them. So if they work well on the simulator, then they should work well on a live account. So very, very interesting. Thank you for the question. Yes, please use it on the simulator. I've been using the simulator since we started and it works very nicely. Brian is asking, if I own 4 options contracts, can I set up a custom sell order based on 4 different targets and a trailing stop based on percentages? Yes, you may. So you have 4 options contracts, custom sell order based on 4 different targets and a trailing stop based on percentages. You may not, the trailing stop amount can be set up as a percentage of the price of the option. So let's go ahead and be very clear on that, because I don't want to set false expectations that you can set, well, if it goes up in profit by 10%, then I want to set a trailing stop. It doesn't work that way. The percentage that you can use in a trailing stop is a percentage of the price of the option. But the trail can be set as a percentage of the price of the option. But definitely, you can set up a custom order that can keep track or can manage your 4 contracts. If you're using the templates on the matrix, the templates inside of the matrix only go up to 3 targets. So in your example, if you're using 4 different targets, then it requires a custom order similar to the one that we talked about. Let's see. Anudeep is asking, is there a way we can make the matrix filled in simulator account like it fills in the live account? We've done a lot of enhancements to the simulator to make sure that it matches live accounts as closely as possible. So if you've noticed something different, and something that is not according to how a live account would fill an order, let us know. Talk to our technical support representatives, and they can probably look into it. But for the most part, fills on the simulator are very similar to what you would expect in a live account. There are of course, some exceptions, but when the simulator was created, there was a lot of study on how the market behaved in a real setting, and we brought in some of those calculations into the simulator. Mark is asking about user groups. We don't have information on user groups anymore. I know that back in the days when we were a software company. We used to manage a lot of user groups. We don't have any data on that at the moment. So if there's any local TradeStation user groups, that's information that TradeStation doesn't have. All right. You can. Actually, the question is, before I answer it, Armando, can you duplicate the working template and clone it for other symbols? In fact, let me try that because I'm gonna do it here for this order. So let me go ahead and let me right click on this original one. Right click, copy to trade bar. Uh-oh, that's not what I wanted. A little bit too many orders. So let's see. Let me go back in here. Let me go back to staged orders. Let's right click on this one that we created last, the offsets. So that's a good idea. Let me customize the TradeStation trade bar. And let me change this to a different symbol. Let me change this to ES, let's do September, ESM 23. This is a futures contract. And I'm going to change the symbol here, ESM 23. Mixed symbol category, that's fine. But I wanted to change all the symbols, ESM 23. Okay, so I guess symbol categories cannot be changed. Let's go and stay within the same symbol category. Let me go here to Bank of America. All right, so it allows you to change the symbol here very quickly, but you don't have to start from scratch. You just have to click on each one. I wish you could just click on the top one. Uh-oh. And change those at the same time. But let's see. Let me go here, edit again. I think I hit enter way too quick.
Order rejected.
I'm not doing it right. So technically, yes, you can go ahead into an order like this and change the symbols and make it apply to a different market if you wanted to, okay? All right. For any technical issues, I see your question about TradeStation freezing on you. Make sure that you talk to one of our representatives. I'm not sure if you have, but they would be the person that would troubleshoot your TradeStation. I haven't experienced any freezes recently, but I do know they happen, once in a while. All right, great. That's it for me. Thank you guys for joining me today. This is a great functionality that I like to talk about and explain. If you have any questions, please make sure that you ask our team. education@tradestation.com is the email address you can use. If you want somebody to answer your question directly, we have a support team that you can call from 8 a.m. in the morning to 5 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern time, and you can get somebody to explain a lot of this functionality over the phone if you wanted to. But thank you for spending this time with me. Make sure that you check out our events calendar for any upcoming classes. We're here every single week talking about TradeStation, and if you're a TradeStation user, please join us. Thank you for your time. Have a wonderful afternoon, and see you next class. Goodbye, everyone.